Good evening. Welcome back to the Glazov gang. Our gang members this evening, Doris Wise Montrose, President of Children of Jewish Holocaust Survivors, Ben Shapiro, Shillman Journalism Fellow at the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and Eric Allen Bell, writer and filmmaker. Glazov gang members, welcome back to the gang.
Thanks.
We left off in our last segment this overall discussion of the right to build or not to build a mosque in America. We have discussed that. We might get back to it. It's also more of a metaphor also with how are we supposed to protect our society with the threat we face, but also respecting freedom. We left the last segment, Eric, with you saying you will not vote for Obama anymore. And I think it's very important to discuss leadership, obviously. The leader of this country is the one that sets the tempo. We have a leader that's actually encouraging Occupy Wall Street degenerates. And maybe, I know you might have a different view on that.
I have a different
view. But wait, before we get to
that,
that, when you say that you won't vote for Obama, right, is there anybody that you would vote for?
Not enthusiastically. I mean, sort of just for fun,
But in context, what I mean
kind
is...
of close my eyes and hit...
But just a second, in the context...
Romney, what do you know?
But wait, I also mean that in the context of, let's forget about the economy, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just talking about the way we deal with the threat of jihad, because the Obama administration, in my view, has even denied that we have this enemy. And even in terms of Fort Hood, the administration came out with a report that didn't even mention Islam or jihad. I mean, this is a catastrophe. But how do you rate Obama in dealing with this threat?
Disaster.
I
think he doesn't understand the Middle Eastern mindset. I think his apology tour signals that we're weak.
But wait a minute. But it looks like he's going to win again. Am I correct? How could Romney beat him? Is there a possibility?
I don't think that there's a chance in the world that a Mormon is going to be president.
So as an ex-liberal, sort of, you kind of have realized that George Bush was the greatest, and Bush, and just a minute.
The worst thing to happen to America in my lifetime.
Are you being serious?
Worse than Obama?
So wait, yeah. Bush is worse than Obama?
Yes.
Very quickly, tell us why. He liberated Iraq. Wait a minute. American troops didn't kill those people. Terrorists killed people in Afghanistan.
So let's compare and contrast the number of people who died on September 11th who are civilians and the number of Iraqi civilians that our troops killed in Iraq.
But they were killed by Al-Qaeda and by Islamic terrorists.
Some of them just had bombs dropped.
Okay, wait a minute. In terms of how we're supposed to deal with the threat that we face, we had to dislodge the Taliban because they gave sanctuary to Al-Qaeda, and there was a possibility that Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. This had to be dealt with, no?
Possibility? I mean, there's a possibility that Santa Claus exists. I wouldn't rule that out.
Eric, are you against regime change as a general matter?
No, I felt at the time and continue to feel that we, the United States government, got into Iraq for reasons other than the reasons that they told us. Control of the petrodollars, making a statement to that part of the world, deciding...
But Eric, the Democrats supported the war against Iraq until they made it a partisan issue.
I don't really think Democrats, Republicans. Okay. I think the plutocrats supported the war.
Do you think deposing Hussein was a good or a bad thing?
I think life in Iraq today for an Iraqi is worse now than it was under Hussein.
That's not what Iraqis say, but according to every...
I don't see where it was our business to go into Iraq. I don't see where there were threats.
What should have been the response to 9/11? Go shopping?
On September the 11th, immediately bomb the hell out of Afghanistan. Don't wait for 3 days for them to talk about it and have tribal meetings and move the bad guys to Pakistan. Hit them immediately. What would have really been cool is if they stopped the jets from hitting the towers. That would have been fantastic.
And how would they have done that?
By doing their job that they've been trained to do.
And then people would have said that...
the statistics, the numbers
Well, so I just want to make sure that we're characterizing your position accurately, which is that you were not anti the war in Afghanistan, correct?
No, not at all.
Okay, and you think that we should have done a better job on security with regard to September 11th?
Yes.
Okay, so essentially, the part of the Bush record that you argue with is the war in Iraq.
No, I would say he was incompetent across the board. If you're a conservative, you have to say, did Bush shrink the size of government or grow it? Did he increase our debt or did he lower it? Do his appointments support gun control? Are they trying to control guns and take away people's guns? Are they pro-life? Across the board, Bush is not a conservative.
Bush is far. I agree
not
with
a
a lot of that.
conservative.
1 second. Let's let Doris in here. Doris, what do you think about what you're hearing here?
I can't imagine that we had a conversation just like a few minutes ago that Obama was a disaster.
Right.
We're worse off now than we have been in my memory, and Bush was worse.
I'm just looking at body count.
But when you say body
that's not
count,
fair.
this was Al Qaeda and Islamists
Well, we should have gone in
perpetrating.
and stopped it. We should have killed three. Once we hit 3,000 dead Iraqis, go home.
No dead Iraqis.
And how could they have just abandoned Iraq and given it over to Al Qaeda and Islamists?
We have to open the question: why were we in Iraq? I mean, what were we doing?
But if there was the chance that Hussein was going to give weapons of mass destruction that he did have and had already used, if he had passed those into the hands of Al Qaeda, that was a huge threat at that time.
Sure, but as it turns out, he didn't have them.
Well, I mean, he did have old weapons of mass destruction,
From
right?
a long time ago.
And
more is coming to light about that.
Well,
and I don't think
that a lot of it was
Yeah.
smuggled to Syria.
Yeah,
But leaving that aside, do you actually believe that? I'm trying to get your view of what justifies war. Is what justifies war for you humanitarian reasons, or is what justifies war to you American interests, or both?
Protecting ourselves.
Okay, so American interests are what justifies war. Okay, I mean that at least is a fair.
War should be
perspective.
avoided at all costs unless we are in.
Okay, so what you're really arguing about is not really the body count. What you're arguing about is that we shouldn't have gone to war in the first place.
Unnecessary body count.
Well, right, but if we had gone in and we had not killed anybody and we had achieved certain,
But it was the jihadis that killed
correct?
people in Iraq. It wasn't American soldiers.
I don't think that Saddam Hussein was real friendly with the jihadis. He didn't like competition.
I think
we hit the wrong.
I think that a lot of.
I agree we should hit around instead of
I
Iraq,
think that
there were lots of
I
terrorists
think that a
involved.
lot of
There's no question.
Iraqis that suffered in Abu Ghraib would argue that they're happier today than under Saddam Hussein. Those that made it out alive. Let me continue. I think that this also shows something about the conservative movement where we're different from the left, because as a fan of George W. Bush, you are always welcome on the Glazov gang, but you're not welcome at the Daily Kos. However, I might draw a line at Ronald Reagan. Can you please say something nice about Ronald Reagan before we continue?
I met Ronald Reagan twice.
Please say something nice about him.
The Reagan years were my family bought a VCR and a microwave, and we got new cars.
I'll take that as a compliment to Reagan.
The 80s.
Okay, I take that as a compliment. You are forever in the Glazov.
That was a close
And you
one.
kept the hair from the 80s?
Yeah. No, I did not have this hair in the 80s. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, it appears that Romney, I don't think, I may be wrong, but is not strong enough to defeat Obama. If Obama, I think he's already done irreversible damage to the United States these 4 years. If he makes it in again, these next 4 years, Doris, what may happen, and can it be reversed in terms of the damage that he'll do?
I think if he makes it in again, there is nothing that is going to stop him from doing more of what he's already doing.
Does it frighten you?
Scares me to death.
What is wrong with Republicans that they can't come up with somebody that's charismatic and that can actually beat Obama?
Well, I think all of Washington has become this monster without a head that doesn't know where it's going but keeps growing. And the Republicans they don't know what to do. They want to be nice. They want to get along. They don't want to be accused of holding things up. And they're not strong. They're not strong enough. We need to wash out the Republican Party and get a whole bunch of new folks in there.
If Obama wins the election, will you be depressed or frightened?
I will be scared to death.
Ben, do you share some of these sentiments and
Yeah,
feelings?
I mean, of course, I share a lot of those sentiments. I mean, I'd be more depressed than frightened, mainly because I think that we're already headed irrevocably toward the cliff. It's just a question of whether the Republicans are going to drive there at 60 miles an hour and the Democrats are going to drive there at 100, right?
Is there any hope that Obama can be beat by Romney?
No. Romney is going to lose. He's going to lose. I mean, look at the states, right? I mean, Ohio, look at Pennsylvania, look at even Florida. He's now running behind in Virginia.
What's the greatest concern when Obama gets in? What's your greatest concern? What damage is he going to do?
Foreign policy.
Give me an example.
He's going to continue giving tremendous amounts of aid to Islamic regimes around the globe. He's going to continue forcing Israel to make concessions to terrorist groups around the globe. He's going to embolden Marxists and terrorist groups around the globe to attack American interests, as we're already seeing.
Ben, would it be unfair for me to say that Obama is an anti-Semite?
I mean, I've said that in print. Yes, let me say this. I think his administration is anti-Semitic. He spent far too much time as a person hanging out with people who are clearly anti-Semitic. Right? People like Rashid Khalidi, people like Jeremiah Wright. These are not people who are kind of Jews, but there's no question the policies his administration has taken have been anti-Jewish in the extreme.
We only have about a minute left. Eric, your final wise thoughts.
I don't think Obama can be classified in any of those ways. He's an opportunist.
Why is he bullying Israel so consistently?
I think Obama lacks empathy for other human beings. I think he's possibly a psychopath. If he wins, the government will grow, we'll lose our rights, and he'll do whatever he needs to do to get into the club.
Okay, just a minute. Ben thinks he's an anti-Semite. You think he's a possible psychopath. Do you have a word?
I like both of those.
Okay. In we have to go 10 seconds each. Your plans for the near future. All of you doing very important things. Doris, what are you up to in the next couple of weeks?
I plan to have as many events and debates and panels as possible in order to educate people.
You got one specifically coming up?
I have one at the middle of April on Israel.
Fantastic. Ben?
I just started working very closely with Andrew Breitbart, and we're getting information out every day about the Obama administration on a variety of fronts, and looking at American politics through the prism of making sure that we keep it honest. So big piece, big journalism, big Hollywood, a big government. We're doing it all there.
Fantastic. And Eric, you are battling both the right-wingers and the left-wingers. What are you up to?
My real focus is to finish my documentary, Not Welcome. NotWelcomeDocumentary.com, and continue to write articles about what I think is a very important issue, which is the Islamization of media.
Eric, Ben, and Doris, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Join us next week for another edition of the Glazov Gang.